Before I get started with this video, I just want to say a huge thank you to all the members of the Kinetic Rugby League channel. Your support is greatly appreciated on a monthly basis. If you'd like to become a member, you can do by clicking the join button below this video and joining for as little as £1 a month. Well, that's it. Thanks again to all the members. Let's crack on with the video. So to recap my predictions from last round, I got 6 out of 8 with the wins, so not too bad. Unfortunately, not a great week with the margins, but they're usually a lot harder to hit anyway. So pretty happy with last round overall. Not too bad. But there's only 5 games to get through this week, with State of Origin Game 2 coming up soon. Let's get on with the first game of this week. Kicking things off this week, we have the Sharks versus the Dragons. So both sides come into this game off the back of a battering. The Sharks lost 40-10 to the Warriors, and the Dragons lost 56-6 to the Dolphins. But the Sharks were also handed a battering the week before that as well from the Roosters. But they are still on better form compared to the Dragons. Also, the Sharks will be without KL Iro in the centres this week to be replaced by Hiroti, and Ronaldo Mulatalo will come back in to retake the left wing position. But the Dragons, they'll be without Tuipulotu and Faitala Mariner, and Valentine Holmes will be out due to State of Origin. So Corey Allen comes back into the starting lineup, and Tyrell Sloan also comes back for the Dragons to try and strengthen up their back line. The Sharks are statistically the better offensive and defensive side, and they've won their last 9 games against the Dragons. I do trust the Sharks' spine to be able to control this game better and create more opportunities. Whilst the Dragons can be a resilient defensive side on their own goal line, I think the Sharks' forwards will win the battle up front and apply too much pressure over 90 minutes. And since the Sharks have been fairly poor in recent weeks, it could mean a closer matchup, but along with everything I've just mentioned, they will have a stronger squad to bring into this fixture on paper. So for a prediction, I'm going to go with the Sharks to win 13+, and for a try scorer, I'm going to go with Britton Nikora. Next up, we have the Titans versus the Seagulls. So last week, I decided to back the Titans after everything that's been going on with the Broncos, and they let me down massively. Go and watch last week's prediction video to understand the full context there, but they'll be without Tino and Fotuaika this week. Manly will be without Hapuate, but they'll have Tom Trbojevic coming back in to replace him at number 1. Siasiwa Takiaho also comes back in to bolster the Seagulls forward pack, and Jason Saab will retake his spot on the right wing. Although both sides are in really poor form, the performances haven't been that good from both sides, but the scores for Manly look a hell of a lot healthier, with the Titans' defence remaining a major issue, conceding 31 points per game on average in 2025. Now, Brimson, Foran and Campbell might work out nicely in the spine for the Titans to create opportunities, but with little game time together so far this season, I don't think they have enough to make up the potential deficit that they could be under. Then you have a weaker Titans forward pack without their origin stars, playing against a big Seagulls pack that also has decent rotational options, whether it's just Simpkins pace at number 9 off the bench, Tavanga, who's been a steady option off the bench as well, or the strong runs of Waddell and especially Nathan Brown. So I think the Titans might compete well early on through the middle, but I think the later the game goes on, the more it suits Manly. The final thing for me is Daly Cherry Evans. Being left out of State of Origin Game 2, what kind of response will we see from him? Now, I don't think he's the type to overreact or overplay in a situation like this. I think he'll use his mind more than anything else, which he usually does. But I hope we see a little bit more of a ruthless version of DCE this week, who should be able to control the game with his kicking anyway. So for prediction, I'm going to go with the Seagulls to win 13+. And for a try scorer, I'm going to go with Jason Saab. Next up, we have the Knights versus the Roosters. So the Knights pulled off a miraculous win last round versus the Seagulls, and as much as I didn't expect it, and a lot of other people didn't either, I can't really see them backing that up this week. First of all, they're without Kalen Ponga and Tyson Frizzell, 2 massive misses to the lineup. They're also playing a Roosters team that, yes, does have a lot of changes, which I'll get onto, but a lot of changes that we've already seen once that the Roosters can deal with. And the Roosters are a very dangerous side this season. So to get onto the Roosters changes a little bit, they'll be missing Crichton, Watson, Collins, Toya and Lenu, all due to State of Origin Game 2. But you have Young, White, Docker Clay, Nat Butcher and Walker all coming back in to fill some of those gaps. Sam Walker returns after a very long absence, so I'm expecting a fresh and determined number 7 to be in command of this game. Now, although the Roosters have looked dangerous, the overall game management has been fine with Savala. I think they've looked a little bit too raw in that department, and having someone with more experience in that role could take them up a level this week. I also think the Roosters have massive players that can win the fight in the middle. And if you look at the options on the bench for the Knights, it's quite inexperienced. So when the changes start to come in, the Knights might not be able to get the same impact as the Roosters later on into the game. I do like the Knights backline with Schiller, Gagai, Hunt and Marju, and there are pieces in the forwards that can be exciting. But that's the thing with the Knights, they have sparked some individuals, but as a unit, they're poor in possession and out of possession. Now the two games that the Roosters lost in their last 5 were to the Bulldogs and the Raiders by 4 points and 2 points. So the Roosters are a serious threat as of right now. The Knights do have Jackson Hastings coming back into the halves this week, but I don't think you'll get much of an improvement, and they're still without Kalen Ponga, their biggest threat. And the Roosters have won 17 of their last 20 games against the Knights. So for prediction in this one, I'm going to go with the Roosters to win 13+. And for a try scorer, I'm going to go with Daniel Tupou. Next up, we have the Cowboys versus the Dolphins. Now, the Cowboys are going to go through something fairly similar to the Roosters this week, so they're going to be missing a lot of big names, but they can at least bring in a solid list of options to replace them. They are going to be without Nanai, Bateman, Robson, Cotter, Vilea and Dearden, most of them due to State of Origin Game 2, but they'll at least have players like Burns, Clifford, Tamalolo, O'Donnell, Talangi and Valame to come back in. So they aren't all like-for-like changes, but at least that's a good list of players with plenty of experience and quality, and they don't have to bring in a bunch of kids that have barely played first grade. The Dolphins, on the other hand, they're only without Max Plath and Hamaso Tabai-Fidau. Max Fagai will come in for the hammer, he'll go into the centres, and Averillo will go to fullback. Looking at some of the other options in this game as well, Kurt Donahue is listed at lock for the Dolphins. So looking at the pros and cons, the con is that the Dolphins might lack size to start the game, and he's going to put in a lot of work against some massive Cowboys forwards. And one of the pros being that he can rotate with Marshall King at number 9 a little, and they can try and maintain a bit of speed out the ruck, also sharing that workload in the middle as well. The Dolphins are also on better form right now, with their losses in the last 5 being against the Warriors and Roosters, 2 great sides this year. And the Dolphins also have 2 massive wins behind them, beating the Bulldogs 44-8, then beating the Dragons 56-6. So they'll be full of confidence and they're clicking both in attack and defence. Now the Cowboys have lost only once in their last 5 games on home soil, and the Dolphins, however, have won both games they've played at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, and I think the quantity and quality of losses for the North Queensland Cowboys are just going to be too great to ignore, now coming up against a Dolphins side on hot form. So for a prediction in this game, I'm going to go with the Dolphins to win 13+, and for a try scorer, I'm going to go with Jermaine Osako. Finally for this week, we have the Rabbitohs versus the Bulldogs. Both sides met back in round 7, where the Bulldogs dominated 32-0 at home. This time, there'll be a few differences in lineups for both teams. The Bunnies will lose out on Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell this week, so they'll have Sullivan in the number 6 role, and Jai Gray will come back in to replace Latrell Mitchell at fullback. Jai Gray had a fantastic start to the season, and he was near the top of the Dally M ladder for a while, so hopefully his quality will be felt this week. The Bulldogs are without 4 players due to State of Origin. They're Kurt Mann, Matt Burton, Max King and Stephen Crichton. But they have a strong list of replacements, with Blake Wilson coming into the backline, who I think is a very reliable option on the wing, and Lachlan Galvin will get his first start for the Bulldogs off the back of a try on debut last round. Hopefully he's been able to settle in, the group feels better connected, and he can contribute with a strong run game. Jacob Preston also returns this week, so the Bulldogs are now at full strength in the back row with both Preston and Kickout. The Bulldogs are the significantly better attacking and defending side this year, but some stats do go in favour of the Bunnies, and they are that they've won 6 of their past 8 games against the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs haven't won both regular season games against the Rabbitohs since 2011. Now, despite those stats, I don't think that kind of history makes up for the massive difference in quality. Although I think the Rabbitohs have shown plenty of positive signs in 2025, the Bulldogs' defence is unbelievably strong, even without Stephen Crichton. So for a prediction in this game, I'm going to go with the Bulldogs to win 13+, and for a try scorer, I'm going to go with Blake Wilson. So to recap my predictions for this round, I'm going to go with the Sharks, Seagulls, Roosters, Dolphins, and Bulldogs all to win 13+. For win confidence, I'm at the highest I've ever been, I think, which is 95%. That 5% is for 2 reasons. Number 1, I can't do 100% because upsets happen quite regularly, so I need to leave a little bit of room there. And 2, the one game that I think has the chance of going the other way that's a little bit of a question mark is the Sharks versus Dragons. I think that one could throw a bit of a spanner in the works, but I'm extremely confident at 95%. And for margin confidence, I'm at 90% as well. I do think, looking at these games on paper, player availability, all that good stuff, stats, massive wins could be had for all these games. And again, maybe the Sharks versus Dragons could be a little closer. Maybe it could be closer for the Knights versus Roosters with all the players that the Roosters are missing. But I am pretty confident. This might be the most confident I've ever been. Doesn't mean I'm going to get 5 out of 5. There's a great chance I end up with 0. But yeah, that's my recap for this week. So that's going to be it for this video. If you guys have your own predictions, please do let me know in the comments section down below. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. It does help to get the video out there to more people. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more Kinetic Rugby League content. If you'd like to join the Discord, there is an invite link in the description down below. And if you'd like to become a member, you can do by clicking the join button below this video and joining for as little as £1 per month. Thank you to all the members of the channel. But that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.